The story opens with Sasha and her partner, Tommy, scaling a massive Norway's troll wall, fully equipped with professional safety gear and a hanging tent for overnight stops on the rock face. They've been at this climb for some time, with Sasha's hands visibly raw and marked from the effort. But in a careless moment, she slips and falls. She isn't hurt, but she's furious, because this is always the exact spot where she gets stuck. Tommy tries to calm her, telling her to ease off and take her time. She tries again, same result. Tommy suggests they call it a day and come back another time. The weather is turning and the climb is getting risky. With no other option, Tommy makes the call to stop. They pitch their hanging tent right there on the cliffside as the storm worsens around them. There's a heaviness in his voice, an unspoken dread, as if he senses this storm is different. Even his lucky compass seems to be warning him. He tells her he doesn't want to keep chasing stunts like this anymore. She snaps back that he always says this when things get a little tough. They agree the safest move is to head back down and return once the weather clears. While descending, lightning flashes and rocks begin breaking loose above them. They press against the wall, keeping their heads low for protection. Tommy suggests dropping to one more ledge below, a safer spot. Sasha climbs down first. Moments later, the rockfall turns into something far worse, an avalanche of ice and stone crashing down around them. Tommy shoves Sasha into a narrow crevice to shield her from it, but can't save himself. A large rock strikes him and knocks him off the wall, leaving him dangling unconscious, his full weight now hanging from Sasha's grip. Sasha holds on with everything she has, screaming at him to wake up to react, but he's out cold and his weight keeps dragging them both down. Her strength simply gives out and the rope slips through her hands and Tommy falls. Sasha watches him plunge into the abyss, powerless to stop it. She manages to grab hold of the rock face and cling on. As the storm rages around her. 5 months pass. Sasha is now back in Australia, carrying her grief and guilt with her, along with Tommy's lucky compass, which never leaves her side. She drives out to a remote national park bordering a canyon and river system. At the ranger station, the officer asks whether she'll be heading in alone and tries to talk her out of it. He tells her that people go missing in these woods all the time. The missing person posters nearby make the warning feel real. Sasha signs the registry anyway and heads in before setting off. She stops for supplies at a gas station. Inside, a couple of rough hunters notice her and start in with crude, unwanted comments, following her around and eventually cornering her near the checkout. Another man working there, a soft-spoken local named Ben, who sells homemade beef jerky, steps in, telling the hunters she's already got everything she needs and to back off. They leave, and Ben apologizes on their behalf. Grateful, Sasha buys a pack of his jerky before heading out. Outside, fumbling with a dead GPS and a confusing map, she spots Ben again and asks him for directions to her destination. He offers her a choice, the easy way or the more difficult scenic route. She tells him she wants whichever is best, or that she prefers the most suitable option, and without hesitating picks the harder path. Ben marks the route for her and recommends she start from Blackstone Bay, mentioning there's an excellent, little-known camping spot nearby. He also warns that the area can be intense and that most people do it in pairs. Sasha sets off alone regardless. As evening falls, she pitches her tent by a lake, keeping pepper spray within reach. To her bad luck, the same hunters from the gas station roll up nearby in their trucks. They've been out hunting and have a dead deer with them, along with their dogs, which run straight at her. They invite her to join them and offer beer. She ignores them and locks herself in her car. One man leans on her window with an unsettling smile, insisting they're only trying to be friendly before the group eventually moves on. She hears them leave that night and finally relaxes. The next day, she sets out on the river in her kayak, riding a strong current, stopping at one point to climb up and jump back into the water just for the joy of it, pushing deeper into the wilderness to try to outrun her own thoughts. Along the way, she comes across a strange, unsettling spot, a kind of informal memorial covered in photographs of missing people and their scattered belongings. It rattles her, but as night falls, she sets up camp there anyway, eats some of Ben's jerky for dinner, hangs her bag and wet clothes from a tree, and goes to sleep. In the morning, a noise wakes her, and she finds her bag gone. Worse, she discovers a snake inside her tent and has to scramble out. Once it's safe, she gets back into her boat and continues downriver, eventually spotting another boat and a campsite on the bank, and realizes, paddling closer, that it belongs to Ben. Relieved to see a familiar face, Sasha tells him her bag, phone, food, and all has been stolen. Ben brushes it off casually, blaming the local wildlife and offers to share his own supplies, since he says he always packs double what he needs. He invites her to eat with him and cooks fresh fish, insisting even as she hesitates. While they eat, she mentions she'd already tried his jerky, branded Janos, and asks about the name. He tells her it's named after his mother. He shows her how he draws fresh drinking water straight out of the trees and lets her drink. She asks where he's from. He says his mother brought him to Australia as a child, which explains the trace of a British accent she picks up on, confirmed with a laugh as he works on the fish. He then asks how long she's been on the water. She says she does a little bit of everything. She brings up the hunters who'd bothered her camp the night before. Ben tells her real hunters respect the wilderness and use what they take. It's not an excuse to get drunk and act like that. She downplays the incident, saying they weren't really dangerous, just trying to scare her. Unsettled, Sasha sets her plate down and tries to leave quietly. Ben stops her, and she sees her own bracelet on his wrist. He disappears into his den, throws her stolen bag back at her, and re-emerges with a crossbow and a speaker. He plays a song and tells her he's restocked her essentials. Glancing at her shoes, he says she'll be fine. She has until the song ends to get as far from him as she can. Then he starts to dance. Sasha grabs the bag and runs. She reaches her boat and paddles hard, the music fading behind her as Ben begins his pursuit. She loses control going over a waterfall, hits her head underwater, and loses the boat entirely, dragging herself to the riverbank and stripping off her wet clothes before running on through the jungle. She hears what sounds like a family's voices nearby and rushes toward them, hoping for help, only to find a phone propped on the ground, playing a recorded video of a missing family. It's a planted trap. Almost immediately, an arrow flies past her. Ben is already up on the cliff above, firing down at her as she scrambles through the trees. He keeps shooting as she runs, striking her bag at one point and sending her tumbling off a ledge into the river below. The current sweeps her hard through the canyon until she reaches a calmer stretch and drags herself ashore wounded. An arrow has grazed her thigh, and her phone dead and waterlogged. She digs through her bag for a dry shirt, eats something for strength, drinks water, and keeps her pepper spray within reach. She keeps moving, hits a dead end in a set of narrow, dark gorges, and without proper gear climbs the rock face anyway, eventually pulling herself up into the open daylight where she can see the whole landscape spread out below. Using binoculars, she spots Ben's boat and watches him already moving through the jungle toward her. He spots her too, just staring up at her with a smile. She flees again, climbing back down and hiding among the rocks. Ben searches but couldn't find her. Once he gives up and moves on, she slips out and keeps running. Later, she hears music again and uses her binoculars to locate her stolen boat, with Ben nearby, bathing naked in the river, as if the whole forest belongs to him. She takes the opportunity to slip into the water and swim quietly toward the boat. She struggles to untie it and tries instead to break it loose. As she tries to get to the bank, her leg is caught in a hidden trap. Her scream gives away her position. Ben scrambles out of the water, dresses, and comes charging toward her. She dives back into the river out of fear, and he drags her in by the chain. She blasts pepper spray directly in his face, buying her some time, but the chain holds her against a rock, and she can't break free in time. He washes his eyes out in the river and recovers fast, reaching the crossbow before she can, and forces her to throw the spray away. Then he calmly kneels down, releases her leg from the trap, and tells her to get up. She asks if this is some kind of game to him. He tells her, flatly, it's not a game, it's a ritual. He ties Sasha by her hands and feet in his den, brings her wild fruit to eat, and asks if being tied up bothers her. She tells him there's something seriously wrong with him. He reminds her he offered her the easy way from the very beginning, and she chose this. That night, he watches her from a distance and talks about how important rituals are, how they remind people of who they truly are, and brings up a tribe that files its own teeth down to sharp points, believing that enduring pain is the only real form of growth or education. The next morning, he loads her onto the boat and takes off down the river. He tells her he pulled her name from the ranger's register and did some digging. He knows about Tommy's death on the mountain and points out that it doesn't add up. Someone that experienced shouldn't have died so easily. Sasha insists it was just an accident. While he talks, Sasha spots a metal rod on the floor of the boat and tries to grab it. But he catches her, throws her overboard, and tows her behind the boat by the chain straight into the roughest rapids, dragging her under again and again until they reach a quiet stretch near a stone wall. He hands her climbing gear and forces her, still tied to him, to descend with him into a hidden cave system cut into the rock. At the bottom, she's confronted with a horrifying scene. The bodies of missing people hanging preserved, including the family from the phone video. Ben explains that some tribes believe consuming the liver of one's prey lets the hunter capture and keep its spirit. He shows her packets of his jerky lying beside the remains, and she realizes that it's made from human flesh. He reveals that his very first kill, the one that started all of this, was his own mother. He ate her heart specifically, believing it let her spirit become part of him, and that this is when and how he first learned to cure meat, making his first batch of jerky from her and naming the brand after her. Now, he tells Sasha he intends to do the same to her. She tries to run, but he corners her, trying to calm him. She tells him she believes a lot of people hurt him, that she's sorry for whatever happened to him, and asks if he thinks he has a problem. In response, Ben pulls a set of prosthetic teeth from his mouth, revealing real, jagged, filed-down teeth underneath. He puts her hand to his mouth, then abruptly stops, lets go, and runs off. While he's gone, she looks around the den and finds a photograph that appears to be of his mother. When Ben returns, he strings her up by the hands. She can just barely touch the ground and begins mixing a salt brine, explaining it's a perfect tenderizer. She brings up the photo, telling him the woman looks just like him. Ben softens, repeating the affectionate things his mother used to call him, and tells Sasha she's special too, just like his mother was. He pulls her into an embrace. That's the moment Sasha strikes, wrapping her legs around him and biting down on his ear until it bleeds. Ben recoils in pain, and whatever was holding her up breaks loose. She runs and he dives in after her. He manages to grab onto her chain and clips it to his own body. And together they're swept over a waterfall, with Ben hitting his head hard enough to leave him dazed or unconscious. Their line snags on a submerged log, trapping Sasha underwater. She struggles for air, works herself loose, and they both surface, with Ben still out cold. She tries to break the chain against a rock, but it doesn't work. Ben begins to gain consciousness. She tries to drown him, shoving his head under, but he fights free. She tries to choke him, but he throws her off. He gets hold of the rope, crawls toward her, climbs on top of her, and begins to strangle her. Just as she's on the verge of losing consciousness, something stops him. He sees his mother's face in hers. He tries to touch her gently, but she punches him away, grabs a rock, and slams it down on his leg again and again until the bone shatters. He slaps her off and crawls away in pain. Both badly hurt, they collapse on the sand as evening falls. Sasha, bleeding from the nose, tells him about Tommy and what happened that day of his death. Ben listens without saying much. The next morning, Sasha studies the sheer rock face standing between them and the outside world. Ben's leg is clearly infected and getting worse. The alternative route out is many days of walking, something he won't survive in his condition. She tells him plainly, they climb today, together, or she leaves him here to die of the infection. He's wary at first, even threatening her with a knife, but agrees to a deal. She builds him a sling for his broken leg so he can be hauled up the wall alongside her and asks him to free her hands to help. He agrees to release her once they reach the base of the climb, warning her that if she tries to drop him, he'll pull her down with him. He clips himself to her and tells her not to dare touch the rigging. They begin the climb together. Partway up, out of his direct line of sight, she tries to loosen the knot connecting them, but he feels it and yanks her back down, accusing her of trying to abandon him. She lies, claiming she was only adjusting her gear and keeps climbing, slow and careful, with him close behind. Higher up, she reaches a small overhanging ledge that briefly puts her out of his sight. She uses the moment to anchor one rope to a sturdy log growing from the rock face, then quietly loosens the line tying her to him. Sensing something wrong, Ben starts screaming and yanking hard on the rope to threaten her, but it's his own pulling that finally works the connecting knot loose. Sasha climbs to safety as Ben is left dangling, suspended only by the line tied to the tree. She unties that last knot, and Ben falls to his death in the canyon below. Now Sasha has to finish the climb completely alone. No harness, no rope, no equipment, and wounded feet. At one point, her footing gives out, and she's left hanging by her hands alone, but she manages to pull herself up and over the top, finally collapsing in exhausted, tearful relief. That night, walking along a road, a passing car spots her and gives her a ride. She goes straight to the ranger station and tells them she knows where to find all of the missing people. A rescue operation begins, and the news breaks. The people long presumed lost to the wilderness were in fact victims of a serial killer. Sasha turns off the news and drives to the coast. She takes out Tommy's compass one final time, kisses it, and throws it into the sea, letting go of the guilt and grief she's carried since the mountain.